Malicious Compliance roommate brought strangers to my birthday, so I ruined everything. The moment I walked into my own apartment and saw 12 complete strangers sprawled across my living room, red Solo cups in hand, I knew my carefully planned 22nd birthday was about to become a disaster. Surprise, my roommate Jake yelled from behind the kitchen counter, arms spread wide like he'd just orchestrated the party of the century. Look who showed up. I stood frozen in the doorway, still holding the grocery bags filled with ingredients for the homemade pasta dinner I'd planned to cook for my 6 closest friends. The strangers, and I mean complete strangers, turned to stare at me with the blank expressions of people who had absolutely no idea whose birthday they were supposedly celebrating. Jake, I said slowly, setting down the bags with deliberate care. Who are these people? My friends from the gym. And some people from my econ class. Oh, and I think Marcus brought a few guys from his fraternity. He gestured vaguely at the crowd like he was presenting livestock at an auction. You said I could bring friends. My stomach dropped. Yes, I had said he could bring friends. I'd specifically told him he could invite Sarah and maybe that guy Connor he'd been hanging out with. 2 people. Not half the student body of our university. The living room looked like a tornado had hit it. Someone had pushed my coffee table against the wall and was using it as a makeshift bar. My carefully arranged birthday decorations, the elegant gold and navy streamers I'd spent an hour hanging perfectly, were already drooping, casualties of some impromptu limbo contest that was apparently happening near my bookshelf. This isn't what we discussed, I said, trying to keep my voice level as more people seemed to materialize from thin air. Where were they even coming from? I wanted something small. Intimate. You know, with people who actually know me. Jake rolled his eyes and took a long drink from his beer. Come on, don't be such a buzzkill. It's your birthday. Live a little. A girl I'd never seen before stumbled past me carrying my good wine, the expensive bottle my mom had given me for my birthday last year that I'd been saving for tonight. She was drinking it straight from the bottle. Jake, seriously. This is not okay. I need you to ask them to leave. What? No way. He laughed like I just suggested we all start doing calculus homework. The party's just getting started. Besides, he shrugged with an infuriating smirk, you said I could bring friends. Friends, Jake. People you're actually friends with. People who know it's my birthday. Not random gym bros who probably don't even know my name. I gestured toward a guy who was currently trying to balance a spoon on his nose while his buddies cheered him on. When he succeeded, he threw his arms up in victory and knocked over my favorite lamp. Friends are friends, Jake said dismissively. Don't be so uptight about definitions. That's when something cold and calculating settled in my chest. The hurt of having my birthday completely hijacked was rapidly transforming into something much more dangerous, determination. You're right, I said, my voice suddenly sweet as honey. Friends are friends. And you said I could have a party. Jake beamed, completely missing the shift in my tone. Exactly. Now you're getting it. Oh, I was getting it all right. If Jake wanted to play fast and loose with definitions and ignore my clearly stated wishes for my own birthday, then I could play that game too. I smiled back at him, already formulating my plan. Let me just put these groceries away, and then we can really get this party started. The first phase of my plan required reconnaissance, so I spent the next 20 minutes circulating through my own apartment like a spy gathering intelligence. What I discovered made my blood boil even more. The strangers weren't just random partygoers, they were the worst kind of entitled college kids who treated every gathering like their personal playground. The fraternity boys Marcus had brought were already rating my female friends on a scale of 1 to 10, loud enough for everyone to hear. One of Jake's gym buddies was going through my refrigerator like he owned it, making himself a sandwich with groceries I'd bought specifically for tonight's dinner. But the real kicker. Nobody, and I mean nobody, had bothered to bring me a gift or even wish me happy birthday. They literally didn't know whose birthday it was. I found my friend Emma cornered near the bathroom by 2 guys who were aggressively hitting on her despite her obvious discomfort. My friend David had given up trying to have a conversation and was sitting alone on the balcony, looking miserable. The intimate birthday dinner I'd planned was completely impossible now, there was nowhere to even sit, let alone cook. Having fun yet? Jake appeared at my elbow, swaying slightly. He'd clearly been drinking since before I arrived. Oh, absolutely, I said, watching one of his gym friends use my birthday card from my grandmother as a coaster. This is exactly what I dreamed of for my 22nd. See? I knew you'd come around. He was too drunk to catch my sarcasm. You just needed to loosen up. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from my friend Mia, asterisk, hey, running late but bringing the cake. Can't wait for our cozy dinner party. Asterisk. The cake. Oh god, the beautiful custom cake Mia had ordered from that expensive bakery downtown. The one with the delicate frosting flowers that had cost her probably $200 because she wanted to make my birthday special. I could already picture these animals destroying it within minutes. I watched Jake's friend Tyler, at least I think that was his name, attempt to do a keg stand using my kitchen counter. He failed spectacularly, crashing into my dish rack and sending my clean plates cascading to the floor. The sound of breaking ceramic was like a starting pistol. Oops. Tyler laughed, not bothering to clean up the mess. My bad. Jake just shrugged. Accidents happen. That was it. That was the moment I stopped caring about being the bigger person. You know what, Jake? I said, pulling out my phone. You're absolutely right. This is my party, and I should invite whoever I want. Totally. See, you're finally getting into the spirit. I started typing rapidly. Since we're being so flexible about the guest list, I think I'll invite a few more friends of my own. Jake nodded enthusiastically, completely oblivious to the dangerous edge in my voice. The more the merrier. Oh, it will be, I murmured, hitting send on the first text. The beauty of Jake's logic was that it worked both ways. If he could invite complete strangers and call them friends, then I could certainly expand my own definition of friendship. After all, I'd met plenty of interesting people over the years. People Jake definitely wouldn't want at his precious party. My phone buzzed with quick responses. Perfect. Jake, I called out sweetly, you might want to pace yourself on the drinking. The night is still very young. He raised his beer in a mock toast. Whatever you say, birthday girl. I smiled back, my fingers already dialing the next number. Oh, I was just getting started. The first wave of my friends arrived just as Tyler was attempting to convince my neighbor's girlfriend to rate his biceps. I heard the knock and practically skipped to the door. Birthday girl, squealed Bethany, throwing her arms around me in an overly dramatic hug. Behind her stood 6 of the most aggressively peppy sorority sisters from Alpha Delta Pi, the ones who treated every social gathering like a recruitment event and had absolutely no filter when it came to other people's life choices. Oh my god, this apartment is so cute. Bethany announced at maximum volume, her voice cutting through the room like a fire alarm. It's so cozy. And vintage. Like, in a really brave way. I watched Jake's face fall as he realized these weren't exactly the kind of cool, laid-back additions he'd been expecting. The gym bros looked confused as the sorority girls immediately began rearranging furniture to create what they called better conversation spaces. Ladies, please make yourselves at home, I said loudly. Jake here was just telling me how much he loves meeting new people. Bethany zeroed in on Jake like a heat-seeking missile. Jake. Oh honey, we need to talk about your skincare routine. That razor burn is just tragic. Before he could respond, my phone rang again. Perfect timing. Excuse me, I announced to the room, more friends arriving. The second wave was even better. My lab partner Chin showed up with 4 members of the university's competitive debate team, the ones who could turn a discussion about pizza toppings into a 40-minute philosophical argument about consumerism and agricultural policy. Fascinating, said Marcus, the debate team captain, surveying the red solo cups scattered everywhere. A perfect microcosm of how late-stage capitalism has commodified even our most personal celebrations. One of Jake's fraternity friends tried to hand him a beer. Want one, bro? Actually, I'd love to discuss the sociological implications of alcohol as a social lubricant in peer group dynamics, Marcus replied earnestly. Have you read Durkheim's work on collective effervescence? The fraternity boy backed away slowly. But I wasn't done. Not even close. My third text had gone to Brad from my freshman dorm, the guy who discovered cryptocurrency in 2019 and hadn't talked about anything else since. He arrived with 3 equally obsessed friends, immediately cornering anyone who would listen about blockchain technology and the future of decentralized finance. You see, what most people don't understand about NFTs. Brad was explaining to Jake's gym buddy, who looked like he wanted to jump off my balcony. The apartment was becoming beautifully chaotic. The sorority girls were critiquing everyone's outfits with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. The debate team had somehow gotten into an argument with the fraternity boys about toxic masculinity in modern sports culture. Brad was drawing diagrams about Bitcoin mining on napkins for anyone unfortunate enough to make eye contact. And I was just getting warmed up. Jake. I called out sweetly, finding him pressed against the kitchen counter looking overwhelmed. How are you enjoying meeting all my friends? This is. He paused, watching Bethany explain proper Instagram lighting techniques to a very uncomfortable Marcus. This is a lot. Oh, but wait until you meet the next group. I invited my study group from Psychology of Human Sexuality. They're doing their final project on party dynamics and consent culture. They'll probably want to interview everyone. Jake's face went pale. Interview everyone. And my friend David from theater is bringing some people from his avant-garde performance art collective. They love to do impromptu installations at parties. Very interactive. I could see the exact moment Jake realized he created a monster. Listen, he said, grabbing my arm, maybe we should slow down with the invitations. Slow down. I gasped, pressing a hand to my chest in mock surprise. But Jake, you said friends are friends. And it's my birthday, shouldn't I be able to invite whoever I want to my own party? His grip tightened slightly. Yeah, but this is getting kind of out of hand. The doorbell rang again. I grinned. Oh good, that must be the campus philosophy club. They're doing a Socratic seminar tonight about the nature of authentic friendship. Perfect timing, don't you think? The philosophy club's arrival was like watching a social experiment explode in real time. 7 graduate students in black turtlenecks and thick-rimmed glasses filed into my apartment, immediately launching into discussions about the authenticity of human connections at manufactured social gatherings. But can we truly call this a celebration when the majority of attendees have no genuine emotional investment in the subject's milestone? Professor Weber's TA, Simon, asked loudly while gesturing at Jake's gym friends with his clove cigarette. One of the fraternity boys looked genuinely confused. Bro, I just wanted free beer. Exactly. Simon exclaimed triumphantly. You've just illustrated Sartre's concept of bad faith in social relationships. Jake was starting to look physically ill. The apartment had reached maximum capacity, and the different social groups were creating a perfect storm of awkwardness. I watched him try to navigate between Bethany loudly explaining proper contouring techniques to his bewildered econ classmates while Brad cornered his gym buddy about cryptocurrency investment strategies. But the real masterpiece was watching Tyler, the dish-breaking keg stand enthusiast, trapped in conversation with Dr. Martinez from the psychology department, who was taking detailed notes about aggressive display behaviors in male peer groups. Fascinating, Dr. Martinez murmured, scribbling furiously. And you said you broke the dishes as a dominance display? Or was it more of a territorial marking behavior? What? Dude, I was just drunk, Tyler stammered. Ah yes, alcohol is a disinhibitor of primitive social instincts. Tell me, do you often destroy property to assert your status within the group hierarchy? Tyler looked around desperately for an escape route, but found himself surrounded by the debate team arguing about whether his actions constituted vandalism or merely unfortunate byproducts of toxic party culture. That's when my phone rang with the call I'd been waiting for. Hey Mia. I answered brightly. Are you here with the cake? Mia's voice sounded uncertain through the speaker. I'm outside your building, but there are police cars here. And your neighbors are complaining about noise. What's going on? My heart rate spiked. I glanced around the apartment. When had it gotten this loud? The philosophy club was now engaged in a heated debate with the debate team about whether their debate was actually a dialogue or just competing monologues. The sorority girls had started an impromptu dance party to music nobody else wanted to hear. Someone had apparently called the cops. Everything's fine, I said, probably too loudly. Just having a small birthday gathering. Through the window, I could see Mrs. Peterson from 3B talking animatedly to 2 police officers while pointing at my apartment. Jake appeared at my elbow, panic written across his face. Dude, we need to shut this down. Now. Shut it down. I feigned surprise. But Jake, the party's just getting started. You said yourself that we should live a little. The cops are here. Oh, that's probably for my next group of friends, I said casually. I invited some people from the criminal justice ethics seminar. They love discussing police-community relations. This will be perfect for them. Jake stared at me in horror. You invited more people. Are you insane? Before I could respond, there was a firm knock at the door. Not the casual rap of party guests, the authoritative knock that meant business. I looked at Jake's panicked face, then at the chaos surrounding us. The apartment was destroyed, my birthday was ruined, but watching him squirm was giving me a satisfaction I hadn't expected. Well, I said sweetly, you better answer that. After all, you're the one who said friends are friends. The knocking got louder. Besides, I added, heading toward the door myself, I should probably let the officers know that none of this was my idea. Jake's face went completely white. I opened the door to find 2 very serious-looking campus police officers standing in the hallway. Behind them, I could see Mrs. Peterson hovering with her arms crossed, looking like she was ready to personally drag every partygoer out by their ears. Evening, said Officer Martinez, the older of the 2. We've received multiple noise complaints about this apartment. Are you the tenant? I'm one of them, I said, gesturing back toward Jake, who was trying to hide behind a very tall philosophy student. That's my roommate Jake over there. He's the one who organized tonight's gathering. Officer Martinez raised an eyebrow as he took in the scene behind me. The debate team was still going strong, now arguing with Brad's crypto friends about whether Bitcoin could solve income inequality. One of the sorority girls was attempting to teach proper selfie angles to a very confused fraternity boy. The psychology students had cornered Tyler against my bookshelf and were conducting what appeared to be an impromptu field study. How many people are in there? Asked the second officer, peering over my shoulder. I did a quick mental count. Honestly, I lost track after 30. Jesus, Officer Martinez muttered. Look, we need to disperse this crowd. Fire code violations aside, your neighbors have the right to peaceful enjoyment of their homes. Of course, officer. I completely understand. I turned back to the chaos. Jake. The officers would like to speak with you. Jake emerged from his hiding spot looking like he was about to face a firing squad. Officers, I can explain. No need, Officer Martinez cut him off. We just need everyone who doesn't live here to leave. Now. That's when things got interesting. Actually, Simon from the Philosophy Club interjected, I'd like to challenge the fundamental assumption underlying that request. What constitutes living in a space? Are we talking legal residence, or emotional/spiritual habitation? Officer Martinez looked like he was developing a migraine. Meanwhile, Dr. Martinez from the psychology department had apparently decided this was too good a research opportunity to waste. Officers, would you mind if I observe the crowd dispersal process? I'm studying group dynamics under authority intervention. Ma'am, this isn't a classroom experiment. But isn't all social interaction inherently experimental? Simon interrupted. And who determines the legitimate use of public space? I watched Jake's face cycle through disbelief, panic, and what looked like the early stages of a nervous breakdown as he realized his party guests were essentially arguing with the police about philosophy and academic theory. Everyone out. Officer Martinez finally bellowed, his patience officially exhausted. I don't care about your dissertations or your blockchain theories or your Instagram tutorials. If you don't live here, you have 60 seconds to get out before we start writing citations. That got everyone's attention. The exodus was beautiful in its chaos. The sorority girls shrieked and grabbed their designer purses, the fraternity boys stumbled over each other heading for the door, and the debate team continued their argument all the way down the hallway. Brad was still trying to explain cryptocurrency to anyone who would listen as he was essentially pushed out by the crowd. Within 5 minutes, my apartment went from packed nightclub to crime scene. Solo cups and napkins littered every surface, my furniture was completely rearranged, and there was some kind of sticky substance on my kitchen counter that I didn't want to identify. Jake stood in the middle of it all, looking shell-shocked. The neighbors are going to file a formal complaint, Officer Martinez informed us. You'll be hearing from the landlord. And if we get called back here tonight, there will be consequences. After they left, the silence was deafening. Just me, Jake, and the wreckage of what was supposed to be my intimate 22nd birthday dinner. My phone buzzed. A text from Mia, still have your cake. Should I come up, or? I looked at Jake, who was staring at the mess like he couldn't quite believe what had happened. Well, I said brightly, that was fun. Thanks for helping me celebrate, roomie. Jake turned to face me, and for the first time all night, he looked genuinely angry instead of just confused. Are you out of your goddamn mind? He exploded, gesturing wildly at the disaster zone that used to be our living room. What the hell was that? You invited those freaks on purpose. Freaks. I gasped, pressing my hand to my chest in mock offense. Jake, those are my friends. You said friends are friends, remember? Those weren't friends. That was like some kind of social experiment gone wrong. That philosophy guy was lecturing the cops about the nature of authority. I shrugged, picking up a solo cup from my coffee table. I thought you loved meeting new people. Wasn't that the whole point of inviting your gym buddies and half the economics department to my birthday dinner? That's completely different. How? I asked, genuinely curious to hear his logic. Explain to me how your random strangers who don't know my name are somehow more legitimate party guests than my actual classmates. Jake opened his mouth, then closed it, clearly realizing he was trapped by his own argument. Because my friends are normal. Normal. I let the word hang in the air. So the guys who broke my dishes and went through my refrigerator without asking are normal, but the graduate students discussing philosophy are freaks? Yes. No. I mean. Jake ran his hands through his hair, making it stick up at odd angles. You know what I mean. Actually, I don't think I do. I started collecting more cups, moving around the apartment with deliberate calm. Help me understand the rules here, Jake. When you want to invite people I've never met to my birthday party, that's being social and fun. But when I invite people you find weird, that's crossing the line. You invited them specifically to mess with my friends. Did I? I paused in my cleanup, tilting my head thoughtfully. Or did I just invite the kind of people I actually enjoy spending time with? You know, people who share my interests. People who can have conversations about things other than protein powder and sports betting. Jake's face was getting red now. Those sorority girls were insulting everyone. Weird, I thought they were just being friendly and giving advice. Isn't that what you do when you're socializing with new people? My phone rang before he could respond. I glanced at the screen and felt a fresh wave of anger. It was my mom, probably calling to wish me happy birthday and hear about my special dinner. Hi Mom, I answered, keeping my voice cheerful while maintaining eye contact with Jake. Happy birthday, sweetheart. How's your party going? Are you having a wonderful time with your friends? I looked around at the trashed apartment, the broken dishes still scattered on the kitchen floor, the sticky mystery substance on my counter. Oh, it's been absolutely memorable. Jake made sure of that. That's so sweet of him to help. What did you end up making for dinner? Dinner. The ingredients I bought for homemade pasta were still sitting in grocery bags by the door, completely forgotten in the chaos. The intimate meal I'd planned for my closest friends had never happened. Instead, I'd spent my 22nd birthday watching strangers destroy my apartment and argue with police officers. We actually didn't get to eat yet, I said, my voice starting to crack despite my best efforts. Things got a little complicated. Oh honey, are you okay? You sound upset. That's when it hit me. I wasn't just angry anymore, I was devastated. This was supposed to be special. I planned everything so carefully, down to the playlist and the wine pairings. I'd been looking forward to this night for weeks, imagining laughing with my friends over dinner, sharing stories, making memories. Instead, my birthday had turned into a police intervention featuring strangers who couldn't even be bothered to say happy birthday. I'm fine, Mom, I lied, turning away from Jake so he couldn't see my face. Just tired. Can I call you back tomorrow? Of course, sweetheart. I love you. I hope your birthday gets better. After I hung up, the silence stretched between Jake and me like a chasm. He seemed to finally grasp that this wasn't just about party logistics or guest lists. This was about something much deeper. Look, he said quietly, maybe things got a little out of hand. A little out of hand? My voice was dangerously quiet. Jake, my neighbors are filing complaints. The police threatened us with citations. My apartment is destroyed. And I spent my birthday watching you prioritize random gym bros over my explicitly stated wishes for my own celebration. I just thought. You didn't think. That's the problem. I picked up another cup, this one with lipstick marks around the rim from someone I'd never seen before. You decided that what you wanted was more important than what I wanted on my own birthday. Jake shifted uncomfortably. Come on, don't be so dramatic. And that's when I realized something crucial, he still didn't get it. Even after everything that had happened, even after watching the chaos unfold and dealing with the police, he thought I was being dramatic for wanting some basic consideration on my birthday. The malicious compliance had been satisfying, but it wasn't enough. I still had one more card to play. I set down the cup I was holding and turned to face Jake fully. You know what? You're right. I am being dramatic. His face brightened slightly, probably thinking he was about to get off the hook. So let me stop being dramatic and start being practical. I pulled out my phone again. Since you're so concerned about this being your party too, I think we should split the costs fairly. Jake's expression shifted to confusion. What costs? Well, let's see. I opened my calculator app with deliberate precision. The security deposit we're definitely losing because of the noise complaints and property damage, that's $500 each. The broken dishes that your friend Tyler destroyed, those were my grandmother's wedding china, so let's call that $300 for replacement. Wait, hold on. Oh, and the cleaning fee we'll need to pay to get this mystery substance off the counter before our landlord sees it. Professional cleaning service runs about $200. I kept typing numbers, my voice getting more businesslike by the second. Then there's the groceries that your gym buddy ate, the prosciutto alone was $40. Jake's mouth was opening and closing like a fish. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Oh, and we should probably discuss the lease violation. I scrolled through my phone until I found our rental agreement. Section 12, subsection C specifically states that tenants are responsible for guest behavior and noise violations. Since this was your idea, I think it's only fair that you handle the conversation with Mr. Rodriguez when he calls tomorrow. Our lease doesn't actually say. Want to bet? I turned my phone screen toward him, showing the exact clause highlighted in yellow. I'd memorized every line of our lease when we signed it, because unlike Jake, I actually read legal documents before agreeing to them. The color drained from his face as he read the section about potential eviction for repeated disturbances. This is insane, he said, but his voice had lost its earlier confidence. You're acting like this is all my fault. Isn't it? I asked simply. Walk me through your logic here, Jake. Whose idea was it to invite strangers to my birthday dinner? But you. Whose decision was it to ignore my request to keep things small? You said. And whose responsibility is it when your guests break things and cause noise violations? Jake fell silent, finally understanding that every argument he could make would just dig him deeper. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Emma, asterisk, just got home. What the hell happened? Tyler from Jake's gym just posted Instagram stories from some random girl's birthday party and they're making fun of your friends. Are you okay? Asterisk. I felt something cold settle in my stomach as I opened Instagram. There they were, videos of my actual friends being mocked by Jake's gym buddies. Tyler had filmed Simon from the philosophy club and added crying laughing emojis with the caption, "When you just want free beer but some dude starts lecturing about Socrates." Another video showed Brad explaining cryptocurrency with the caption, "Bitcoin bro thinks he's the Wolf of Wall Street." But the worst one was a video of Emma looking uncomfortable while Marcus hit on her, captioned, "When she's not interested but free beer is free beer." They had turned my friends into entertainment. My birthday into a joke. I held up my phone so Jake could see the screen. "Your friends are posting videos mocking my guests." Jake glanced at the phone and had the decency to look embarrassed. "Come on, they're just being stupid. They're being cruel. And they're doing it because you created an environment where that was acceptable." I screenshot each post methodically. At my birthday party. Using my friends as content for social media. Look, I'll tell them to delete. Don't. My voice was sharp enough to cut glass. "Actually, I want you to leave them up." Jake blinked in confusion. "What?" I smiled, but there was nothing friendly about it. Because now I have evidence. Documentation of harassment that happened at a party you organized, in an apartment where you're equally liable for guest behavior. The pieces were falling into place beautifully. Jake's face went pale as he started to understand the implications. "Evidence for what?" "Well," I said thoughtfully, "Emma mentioned she felt unsafe with how aggressively Marcus was hitting on her. And these videos show your friends were more interested in mocking people than actually celebrating. That could be very interesting information for the right people." Jake stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "You're seriously going to?" "I'm going to protect my friends," I cut him off. "The same way you should have protected the basic respect I asked for on my own birthday." My phone rang again. Perfect timing. "Hi Mia," I answered sweetly. "Yes, you can bring the cake up now. Just me and Jake here." I hung up and turned back to my roommate, who looked like he was calculating how much trouble he was actually in. "She's bringing the cake," I announced. "The one she spent $200 on because she wanted to make my birthday special. I think we should have a little celebration after all." When Mia knocked, I opened the door to find her holding the most beautiful birthday cake I'd ever seen, 3 layers of vanilla sponge with delicate buttercream roses in shades of pink and gold, my name written in elegant script across the top. Her face fell the moment she saw the disaster zone behind me. "Oh my God," she whispered, stepping carefully over a crushed Solo cup. "What happened?" "It looks like a hurricane hit." "Jake happened," I said, taking the cake from her hands with reverent care. "But don't worry, we're about to have that intimate birthday celebration I wanted after all." Jake shifted nervously as Mia surveyed the damage. I could see her taking in the broken dishes, the rearranged furniture, the mysterious stains on my coffee table. Her expression hardened when she spotted my grandmother's china scattered across the kitchen floor. "Jake did this?" Her voice could have frozen fire. "Well, technically his friends did the actual destruction," I clarified, setting the beautiful cake on the only clean surface I could find. "But Jake made it possible by inviting complete strangers to my birthday dinner without asking." "I didn't know they were going to," Jake started. "Oh, you didn't know?" Mia interrupted, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "You invited random people to someone else's birthday party and didn't think there might be consequences." I watched Jake squirm under Mia's glare. She had always been protective of our friend group, but seeing her reaction to the destruction made me realize just how violated I should feel. This wasn't just about party planning gone wrong, this was about Jake fundamentally disrespecting my home and my relationships. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," Jake mumbled. "I just thought." "That's the problem," Mia cut him off. "You didn't think. You just decided that whatever you wanted was more important than what the birthday girl explicitly asked for." My phone buzzed with another text. Then another. Word was apparently spreading about what had happened, and my actual friends were starting to reach out. Emma was asking if I needed help cleaning up. David wanted to know if we should reschedule for tomorrow night. Sarah was apologizing for leaving early when things got weird. But then I saw a text that made my blood boil all over again. It was from Connor, the one friend Jake was supposed to invite, *, dude, saw Tyler's Instagram stories. "Was that your party? Why didn't you invite me?" *. I held up my phone to show Jake. "Connor says he saw Tyler's posts. You know, Connor. The one person you were actually supposed to invite." Jake's face went white. "Oh shit, I forgot." "You forgot to invite the one person you actually had permission to invite, but remembered to invite 12 strangers from the gym?" Mia's voice was climbing toward dangerous territory. "It wasn't 12 strangers." Jake protested weakly. "You're right," I said, pulling out my phone again. "Let me count." I started scrolling through the videos Tyler had posted. Marcus plus 3 frat bros makes 4. Tyler plus 2 gym buddies makes 3 more. Plus the people from your econ class. I paused for dramatic effect. "Actually, you know what? It doesn't matter if it was 12 or 15 or 20. What matters is that you invited people without asking and then refused to uninvite them when I specifically requested it." Mia was staring at Jake like he was something she'd found on the bottom of her shoe. "You refused? She asked you to uninvite them and you said no?" "She said friends are friends." Jake said desperately. I thought she was being uptight. The silence that followed was deafening. Even I was shocked by how callous that sounded when he said it out loud. Mia's expression shifted from anger to something much colder. "Uptight," she repeated slowly. "About wanting to celebrate her birthday with people who actually care about her. In her own apartment that she pays rent for." Jake seemed to finally realize he'd stepped in something he couldn't talk his way out of. "Look, can we just clean this up and forget?" "Forget?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Jake, I'm never going to forget this. This was supposed to be one of the best nights of my year." That's when my phone started ringing with a call that made everything infinitely worse. The display showed Mom, and I realized she was probably calling back because she'd sensed something was wrong earlier. "I should take this," I said, but Jake grabbed my arm. "Please don't tell your mom what happened," he begged. "She'll kill me." I looked down at his hand on my arm, then back up at his face. The entitlement was breathtaking. Why exactly should I protect you from the consequences of your own actions? I stared at Jake's hand gripping my arm, then slowly looked back up at his face. The sheer audacity of him asking me to cover for him after everything he'd just put me through was almost impressive in its selfishness. Let go of my arm, I said quietly, but with enough steel in my voice that he immediately dropped his hand. My phone was still ringing. Mom's picture smiled up at me from the screen, completely oblivious to the disaster her daughter's birthday had become. Hi Mom, I answered, keeping my eyes locked on Jake's increasingly panicked face. Actually, I'm so glad you called back. I was worried about you, honey. You sounded upset earlier. Is everything alright? I could see Jake frantically shaking his head, mouthing, please don't, at me like some kind of desperate mime. Behind him, Mia had crossed her arms and was watching the whole thing with the expression of someone settling in to watch a very satisfying movie. Well, Mom, it's been an interesting evening, I said, walking over to survey the broken remains of grandmother's china scattered across my kitchen floor. You remember how I told you I was planning a small dinner party with my close friends? Of course. You were so excited about cooking that pasta recipe I sent you. Right. Well, Jake had some different ideas about what my birthday should look like. I bent down to pick up a piece of the broken serving plate, the one with the tiny blue flowers around the rim that grandmother had painted by hand. He decided to invite about 20 strangers from his gym and economics class without telling me. The silence on the other end of the phone was ominous. My mother had very strong feelings about hospitality, respect, and people who messed with her daughter's happiness. He did what now? Mom's voice had dropped to that dangerously calm tone I remembered from childhood, the one that meant someone was about to get the lecture of their lifetime. Jake was now making increasingly frantic gestures at me, looking like he might actually cry. I found myself completely unmoved by his distress. Oh, and Mom. Remember grandmother's china set that you gave me when I moved out? The one that's been in the family for 3 generations. Another loaded pause. The wedding china with the hand-painted roses. That's the one. I held up another broken piece, making sure Jake could see it. Well, Jake's gym friend Tyler decided to do a keg stand in my kitchen and knocked it all off the counter. It's completely destroyed. The sound my mother made was somewhere between a gasp and a growl. If Jake thought he was panicking before, the way he went completely white told me he understood exactly how much trouble he was in now. That boy destroyed grandmother's china. Mom's voice was climbing steadily. The china that survived the Depression and 2 world wars and your father's 3 moves for work. Every piece, I confirmed, watching Jake mouth, oh God, repeatedly. But don't worry, Jake's going to replace it. Aren't you, Jake? He nodded so vigorously I was worried about his neck. And Mom. The strangers he invited were posting videos on social media making fun of my friends. They turned my birthday into content for their Instagram stories. That did it. I could practically hear my mother's blood pressure spiking through the phone. Put that roommate of yours on the phone. Right now. Jake was shaking his head so hard he looked like a bobblehead in an earthquake. I held the phone out to him with a smile that could have cut diamond. Jake, my mother would like to speak with you. He looked at the phone like it was a live grenade, then back at me with the expression of a man facing his execution. The beautiful thing was, this was just getting started. I held the phone out to Jake, watching him stare at it like it might explode in his hands. The seconds stretched between us while my mother's voice carried faintly from the speaker. She was saying something about that boy and complete disrespect in increasingly sharp tones. Take it, I said sweetly. She's waiting. Jake's hands were actually trembling as he reached for the phone. I'd never seen him this terrified of anything, not even when he'd failed his macroeconomics midterm and thought he might get kicked out of his program. Hello, Mrs. Chen, he stammered into the phone. I couldn't hear exactly what my mother was saying, but I could hear the tone, that precise, clipped cadence she used when she was absolutely furious but maintaining her composure. Jake's face cycled through several shades of pale as he listened. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. I understand. Yes, it was my responsibility. Mia had pulled out her phone and was not so subtly recording Jake's side of the conversation. When she caught my eye, she mouthed, "This is gold," and kept filming. The china was how old? Jake's voice cracked slightly. 112 years. And it was hand-painted by, oh God. That's when my phone buzzed with a text that made my stomach drop. It was from Emma, and it wasn't good news. Asterisk, Tyler and Marcus are at Murphy's bar posting more videos. They're telling everyone about your psycho roommate and how you invited campus weirdos to crash their party. This is getting ugly. Asterisk. I felt my momentary satisfaction evaporate. They were spinning the narrative, making me look like the crazy one. Suddenly Jake's humiliation wasn't enough, this was about to become a much bigger problem. Jake, I interrupted, holding up my phone. Your friends are at Murphy's bar right now telling people that I'm a psycho who crashed their party with weirdos. Jake looked up from his conversation with my mother, his eyes widening as he read Emma's text. Mom, can I call you back? There's a situation. No, you may not call her back, I said firmly, taking the phone from his hands. Hi Mom, Jake needs to go handle the fact that his friends are now publicly slandering me across campus. Those boys are doing what now? Mom's voice had reached a pitch that probably had dogs howling 3 states away. Apparently I'm a psycho who ruined their party, I said, watching Jake frantically text what I assumed were desperate damage control messages. They're at Murphy's bar telling everyone their version of events. Mia looked up from her phone with a grim expression. It's worse than that. Tyler just posted a TikTok that's already got 50 likes. He's calling you birthday girl Karen and saying you called the cops on your own party. My blood turned to ice. Birthday girl Karen. In the age of social media, that kind of label could stick forever. My carefully planned malicious compliance was backfiring spectacularly. Instead of teaching Jake a lesson, I'd given his idiot friends ammunition to paint me as the villain. Jake, I said, my voice deadly calm, you have exactly 10 minutes to get to Murphy's bar and shut this down before I handle it myself. What are you going to do? He asked nervously. I smiled, and even I could feel how sharp it was. Well, Tyler posted all those videos from my apartment without permission. And Marcus was harassing Emma on camera. I'm sure the university's social media harassment policy would find that very interesting. Jake's face went from pale to green. You wouldn't. Try me. That's when someone started pounding on our door with enough force to rattle the frame. We all froze, staring at the door like it might reveal who was behind it through sheer force of will. The pounding came again, more insistent this time, followed by a voice that made my heart sink into my shoes. Management. Open up. The pounding on the door intensified, and I could hear Mr. Rodriguez's voice getting more agitated by the second. Jake looked like he was about to have a panic attack, Mia was still filming everything, and my mother was demanding to know what was happening through the phone speaker. 1 second. I called toward the door, trying to buy time to think. This was spiraling completely out of control. Jake, bathroom, now, I hissed, grabbing his arm and dragging him toward the hallway. We need a plan before I open that door. What plan? He whispered frantically as we huddled in my tiny bathroom. We're completely screwed. Rodriguez is going to evict us. Through the thin walls, I could hear Mr. Rodriguez talking to someone in the hallway, probably Mrs. Peterson, who was undoubtedly giving him a detailed account of every noise violation from the past 3 hours. Listen carefully, I said, my mind racing through possibilities. You're going to tell Rodriguez that you organized a small study group that got out of hand when people started inviting friends without permission. You take full responsibility, and you offer to pay for any damages and cleaning. But what about the Murphy's Bar situation? Jake's voice was getting higher with panic. Tyler's TikTok is probably viral by now. I pulled out my phone and checked. My stomach dropped, the video had 347 likes and counting, with comments calling me everything from psycho roommate to party police. But as I scrolled through the comments, I noticed something interesting. Actually, this might work in our favor, I said slowly, screenshotting several comments. Look at what Tyler's friends are saying. Jake peered at my phone screen, squinting at the comments. I don't understand. They're admitting they crashed someone else's birthday party, I explained, highlighting specific comments. Look, LOL, we didn't even know whose birthday it was, and free beer is free beer. They're literally confessing to being uninvited guests who destroyed someone's property. The pounding on the door resumed, accompanied by Mr. Rodriguez shouting about lease violations and police reports. Bathroom conference is over. Mia's voice carried through the door. Rodriguez is threatening to call campus security if you don't open up in 30 seconds. I took a deep breath and grabbed Jake's shoulders. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take responsibility for tonight, pay for the damages, and publicly correct the record about what happened. In exchange, I won't file formal complaints with the university about the harassment videos. And if I don't? I showed him my phone again, where I'd already started drafting an email to the Dean of Students' office. Then I document everything, the uninvited guests, the property destruction, the harassment videos, and the defamation campaign your friends are currently running. Your choice. Jake stared at the email draft, his face cycling through anger, panic, and finally resignation. Fine. But after tonight, we're even. After tonight, we're strangers who happen to share a lease, I corrected. Now go answer that door. We emerged from the bathroom to find Mia had already let Mr. Rodriguez in. He was standing in the middle of our destroyed living room, surveying the damage with the expression of someone calculating exactly how much this was going to cost him. Whose idea was this? He demanded, gesturing at the chaos. Jake stepped forward, looking like he was walking to his execution. Mine, sir. I organized a study group that got out of control when people started inviting additional guests without permission. Mr. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. A study group that required police intervention? It wasn't supposed to get that big, Jake mumbled. I take full responsibility for any damages or cleaning costs. You certainly do, Rodriguez said grimly, pulling out his phone to start documenting the damage. Because according to Mrs. Peterson, this study group involved public intoxication, noise violations, and what sounded like furniture being thrown around. As he spoke, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. The caller ID showed a local area code, but something about the timing made me nervous. Excuse me, I said, stepping onto the balcony to answer. Hello. Is this the birthday girl Karen from the TikTok? The voice was young, female, and sounded way too excited. I'm calling from the campus newspaper. We'd love to get your side of the viral party story. My blood turned to ice. Campus newspaper meant this was about to become campus-wide news. Through the sliding door, I could see Jake explaining the broken china to an increasingly angry Mr. Rodriguez while Mia continued documenting everything on her phone. I think you have the wrong number, I said carefully. Oh come on, we know it's you. Tyler's video is everywhere, and we tracked down the apartment from the background details. This is going to be our front page story. I hung up immediately and rushed back inside, my heart pounding. Jake, I said urgently, interrupting his conversation with Rodriguez, we have a much bigger problem. The campus newspaper calling should have been my first clue that this was about to become a complete nightmare, but I was still naive enough to think we could contain the damage. What bigger problem? Jake asked, his voice already strained from trying to explain to Mr. Rodriguez why our security deposit should cover the cost of replacing century-old family heirlooms. The campus newspaper wants to interview me about Tyler's viral TikTok, I said, watching both their faces drain of color simultaneously. Apparently we're going to be their front page story. Mr. Rodriguez stopped photographing the mysterious sticky substance on my counter and turned to stare at us. Viral TikTok? What viral TikTok? Before I could answer, Mia held up her phone with a grim expression. It's worse than that. Tyler's video has 1,500 likes now, and someone posted it to the campus Facebook group. The comments are. She paused, scrolling rapidly, really not good. My phone started buzzing with notifications, friend requests, tagged comments, direct messages from people I'd never heard of. The familiar sick feeling of going viral for all the wrong reasons settled in my stomach like a lead weight. Show me this video, Mr. Rodriguez demanded, holding out his hand for Mia's phone. We all watched in horrified silence as he viewed Tyler's masterpiece of selective editing. From his perspective, it looked like a normal college party that suddenly got invaded by weird, pretentious students who started lecturing everyone about philosophy and cryptocurrency. The way Tyler had edited it, complete with dramatic music and crying laughing emojis, made my friends look like insufferable academic stereotypes who crashed a fun party just to ruin everyone's good time. So let me understand this, Rodriguez said slowly, handing the phone back to Mia. Not only did you have an unauthorized party that resulted in police intervention and property damage, but it's now viral social media content that's bringing negative attention to my building. Jake opened his mouth, then closed it, apparently realizing that any explanation would only make things worse. Sir, I started, the video is extremely misleading. I don't care if it's misleading. Rodriguez exploded, his professional composure finally cracking. I care that my property is now associated with viral party content. Do you have any idea how this affects my other tenants? My reputation as a landlord? My phone rang again, another unknown number. Then Mia's phone started ringing. Then Jake's. Don't answer those, I said quickly, but it was too late. Jake had already picked up. Hello, he said uncertainly. No, I'm not the party host. What podcast? No, I don't want to be interviewed. He hung up, looking shell-shocked. Someone wants me on their podcast about college party culture and social media accountability. That's when I realized we'd crossed into a whole different category of problem. This wasn't just about roommate drama or party cleanup anymore. We were becoming a case study, a cautionary tale, internet content. The kind of story that follows you for years, that comes up when future employers Google your name. I want all of you out, Rodriguez said suddenly, his voice cutting through the chaos of ringing phones. The lease violation is clear, the property damage is extensive, and now you've made my building part of some viral internet drama. You have 30 days. 30 days. Jake's voice cracked. But sir, we can fix this. How exactly are you going to fix viral social media content? Rodriguez demanded. Are you going to personally contact everyone who's shared, liked, or commented on these videos? Are you going to guarantee me that no campus tours will include pointing out the birthday girl Karen apartment? The worst part was, he had a point. You can't unviral something. You can't take back the moment when your private disaster becomes public entertainment. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma, *emergency. Tyler just posted a follow-up video claiming you threatened to get him expelled. He's calling for people to defend college party culture against academic elitists. This is getting really ugly really fast. *. I showed the text to Jake, watching his face cycle through panic, anger, and something that might have been regret. Fix this, I said quietly. Right now. Before it gets worse. But as my phone continued buzzing with notifications and my apartment filled with the sound of multiple ringtones, I had the sinking feeling that it was already too late for damage control. We weren't just roommates dealing with party aftermath anymore. We were about to become a campus-wide controversy. My phone buzzed again with an unknown number, and this time when I answered, the voice on the other end made my stomach drop to the floor. Is this the tenant at 425, Oak Street, apartment 3A? The voice was crisp, professional, and unmistakably official. Who's asking? I said carefully, stepping back onto the balcony despite the cold. This is Dean Patricia Williams from the Office of Student Conduct. We've received multiple reports about social media content involving harassment and potential lease violations. I need both you and your roommate in my office tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. My mouth went completely dry. The Dean of Student Conduct. This wasn't just viral social media drama anymore, this was academic disciplinary territory. Dean Williams, I can explain. Save it for tomorrow morning, she cut me off. And I suggest you both review the Student Code of Conduct tonight, particularly the sections on social media harassment and off-campus behavior that reflects poorly on the university. The line went dead, leaving me staring at my phone in horror. Inside, I could hear Mr. Rodriguez continuing his damage assessment while Jake's voice got increasingly desperate. Through the sliding door, I watched him gesturing frantically at the broken china, probably trying to convince our landlord that antique replacement costs weren't his responsibility. But the dean calling meant we'd moved far beyond property damage. Someone had filed formal complaints. Multiple complaints, apparently. I pulled up Tyler's latest TikTok and immediately regretted it. The follow-up video had over 3,000 likes and showed screenshots of what he claimed were my threatening texts, except the screenshots were obviously doctored. The messages he was attributing to me included phrases I'd never written, including one that supposedly threatened to destroy his academic career and another promising to make him pay for embarrassing me. The comments were even worse. People were calling me everything from entitled princess to academic fascist. Someone had apparently figured out my major and was making jokes about psychology students being crazy control freaks who analyze everyone. Another commenter claimed to know me personally and said I was always starting drama in group projects. None of it was true, but truth didn't matter when the mob decided you were the villain. The dean just called, I announced as I came back inside, causing everyone to freeze mid-conversation. Jake's face somehow managed to get even paler. What did she say? 9 a.m. meeting tomorrow. Office of Student Conduct. Multiple reports filed about social media harassment and conduct violations. Mr. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow with grim satisfaction. Good. Maybe the university can teach you both some responsibility since I clearly can't. Mia held up her phone again, her expression increasingly worried. It's spreading beyond campus now. Someone shared Tyler's video in a Reddit thread about college party horror stories, and it's getting picked up by those Instagram accounts that repost TikTok drama. My notifications had become a constant stream of buzzing. Friend requests from strangers, tags and posts I couldn't even see, direct messages ranging from support to threats. The worst part was watching my actual friends get dragged into it. Emma had commented defending me on Tyler's video and was now getting harassed in her own DMs. Jake, I said, my voice deadly calm despite the panic clawing at my chest, your friend Tyler has exactly 1 hour to delete those videos and post a public apology before I show Dean Williams the real screenshots of tonight's events. You can't prove those texts are fake. Actually, I can. I held up my phone, showing him the camera roll timestamp on my screenshots versus the edited versions in Tyler's post. Digital forensics isn't that complicated when someone's this sloppy with their forgeries. Mr. Rodriguez was watching our exchange with the fascinated horror of someone witnessing a train wreck in slow motion. That's when someone started pounding on the door again, but this time, it wasn't management. It was multiple voices, and they were chanting something that made my blood run cold. Birthday girl Karen. Birthday girl Karen. We had visitors. The chanting outside my door grew louder, and through the peephole I could see at least 6 people in the hallway, some holding up phones like they were live streaming. My hands started shaking as I realized they'd actually tracked down my apartment to turn this into some kind of twisted field trip. Birthday girl Karen. Come out and play, one of them shouted, followed by laughter that echoed off the hallway walls. Mr. Rodriguez pushed past me to look through the peephole himself, his face darkening with each second. This is exactly what I was talking about, he said, pulling out his phone. I'm calling campus security. This building is not a tourist attraction for your internet drama. Jake was frantically texting, probably trying to reach Tyler, while Mia had positioned herself by the window to see if there were more people gathering outside the building. There's a whole crowd forming in the parking lot, she reported grimly. Someone's got a speaker playing what sounds like a remix of Happy Birthday, and people are filming everything. My phone buzzed with a call from Tyler himself. Against every instinct, I answered. Congrats, you're famous. His voice was slurred with alcohol and victory. You wanted to ruin my fun, so now I'm returning the favor. How's it feel being the main character? Tyler, you need to call these people off right now, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. This isn't a joke anymore. You're putting people in danger. Danger? He laughed. It's just a little birthday celebration. Isn't that what you wanted? A memorable party? Through the door, I could hear someone trying to interview Mrs. Peterson about what it was like living next to the viral birthday girl. Her responses were getting increasingly irritated, which meant this crowd was about to face the wrath of a woman who'd already spent her evening dealing with police reports. Listen carefully, I said into the phone, my voice dropping to barely controlled fury. In 30 minutes, I have a meeting with Dean Williams where I'm going to show her every single piece of evidence I have about tonight. The real screenshots, the harassment videos, the property damage, everything. Your choice whether you want to add stalking and inciting harassment to that list. The line went quiet except for background noise from what sounded like Murphy's Bar. You're bluffing, Tyler said finally, but his voice had lost some of its cocky edge. Try me. Oh, and Tyler. Those fake screenshots you posted. I've already sent the real ones to Instagram's misinformation team. Your account should be getting flagged any minute now. I hung up and immediately called campus security myself, not waiting for Mr. Rodriguez. The situation was escalating beyond anything any of us could handle alone. Campus security, how can I help you? This is a student at 425, Oak Street, apartment 3A. There's a crowd of people outside my building who tracked me down from viral social media content. They're harassing residents and filming without permission. Ma'am, are you the student involved in the party incident we received reports about earlier? Of course they already knew about it. Yes, but this is different. These aren't guests, they're strangers who found my address online and are now staging some kind of demonstration. Officers are en route. Stay inside and don't engage with the crowd. Through the window, Mia reported that the parking lot crowd was growing. Someone had apparently brought signs, though she couldn't read them from our third-floor vantage point. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma, the campus Facebook group moderators just locked Tyler's post and banned him. Apparently enough people reported it for harassment that they're doing an investigation. But this crowd situation is all over Snapchat now. Jake finally looked up from his phone, his face grave. Tyler's not answering anymore. Neither are Marcus or any of the other guys from tonight. Cowards, Mia muttered. They started this mess and now they're hiding. Mr. Rodriguez finished his call with campus security and turned to face us with the expression of someone who'd reached the absolute limit of his patience. Effective immediately, you're both responsible for any security costs related to this incident. And if I find out either of you gave out this address to these people, the eviction notice gets expedited to 48 hours instead of 30 days. Outside, the chanting was getting more creative. Show us the birthday cake. Show us the birthday cake. I realized with growing horror that this wasn't going to end with just tonight. This was only the beginning. The campus security officers arrived like the cavalry, but what happened next was beyond anything I could have imagined. As they dispersed the crowd outside, one of the officers came up to take our statements, and recognized Tyler's voice from the TikTok videos his own daughter had been showing him. Ma'am, I need you to know that what these boys did tonight constitutes criminal harassment under state law, Officer Chin told me as he reviewed the evidence on my phone. The fake screenshots, the doxing, inciting people to show up at your residence, this isn't just social media drama anymore. Jake's face went completely white when he realized the legal implications. Within an hour, Tyler's TikTok account was permanently banned, his fake screenshots were flagged across every platform, and campus security had tracked down every single person who'd participated in the harassment mob. It turned out that most of them were freshmen who'd gotten caught up in the excitement without understanding they were participating in targeted harassment of another student. But the real victory came the next morning. Dean Williams listened to my entire story, reviewed all the evidence, and then made a call that changed everything. She contacted Tyler's academic advisor, Marcus's fraternity leadership, and initiated formal disciplinary proceedings against everyone involved in the harassment campaign. Ms. Chen, she said after reviewing the timeline of events, what happened to you was completely unacceptable. However, I'm impressed by how you documented everything and handled a very difficult situation. Have you ever considered our peer mediation program? 3 weeks later, Jake moved out voluntarily after Tyler and Marcus received academic probation and mandatory community service. They also had to pay full restitution for grandmother's china, all $2,847 worth, and write formal apologies that were posted in the campus conduct newsletter as examples of how not to handle social conflicts. The best part? My psychology professor asked me to present my documentation of the entire incident as a case study in group dynamics and social media psychology. The presentation went so well that I was invited to co-author a paper about digital harassment patterns among college students. Mia and I threw my actual 22nd birthday party 2 weeks later, intimate dinner for 6, homemade pasta, and the most beautiful replacement cake she could find. Emma brought her new boyfriend, who turned out to be a philosophy graduate student who'd heard about the legendary party where someone actually made the debate team popular. You know, David said as we sat around my properly arranged living room, eating cake off my new, non-antique, plates, I've never seen anyone turn malicious compliance into an academic career opportunity before. My new roommate Sarah, a quiet engineering student who appreciated clearly defined boundaries and actually read lease agreements, raised her glass of wine. To birthday parties that stay exactly the size you planned them. We toasted, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe properly again. My phone buzzed with a notification, and I tensed automatically before checking it. But it was just my mom, sending pictures from her book club where she'd apparently spent the evening telling everyone about how her daughter had handled those disrespectful boys with grace and intelligence. So what did you learn from all this? Mia asked, stealing a bite of my cake. I thought about Jake's shocked face when campus security explained criminal harassment laws. I thought about Tyler's account getting banned and his fake screenshots being used as examples in digital literacy courses. I thought about how my careful documentation had turned a nightmare into a teaching opportunity. I learned that sometimes the best revenge is just letting people face the natural consequences of their own actions, I said, taking another bite of perfectly moist vanilla cake. And that birthday parties are much better when everyone actually knows whose birthday it is. Amen to that, Sarah said, and we all laughed. Finally, the perfect birthday celebration I'd wanted all along.